All right, so we have a special guest here today. It's a special edition of Liquid Lunch, possibly maybe even to play it on Two Souls Connect. We have David Wolfe here, who is a best-selling author, who is probably world-renowned for nutrition and probably one of the leading experts in raw food. It's quite a title there that you have.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting where life leads you. You just kind of follow out what your kind of passion is.
There you go.
That's kind of what's been going on. I just kind of followed out what I wanted to do rather than what I should have done.
I'm not sure what that means.
No, it's great. I mean, it's kind of like, your mom always tells you got to do this. Your dad tells you got to do that. You got to grow up and be this or that.
Yeah.
And I kind of was really a rebellious kid, so I never did any of that. And it all worked out incredibly great. I mean, I'm happier and better off now and feel so excited about my career. It's literally the best thing ever.
How many parents
do I have?
No. That I won't say how long ago that might have been, would have been telling their kids, you're going to grow up to be a raw food expert. Like it or
my
not.
mom was freaked out.
And I have to say, I can really appreciate it because I know how healthy it is, but it has got to be the most difficult diet to stick to ever.
I don't know. I mean, it just depends. I mean, for me personally, it's like a spiritual thing. There's no way I could eat anything else. I've been a raw foodist for 12 years, which is 1/3 of my whole life. And when I moved out of my mom's house when I was 18 and started buying my own food, that's when I really began to understand, like, whoa, okay, some foods work for me and some foods don't. And then I was a terrible cook. That's why I became a raw foodist. So, kind of one thing led to another. Next thing you know, it's like avocados, oranges, salad, and, the rest is history.
Wow. So, 12 years ago, that's pretty leading edge.
Yeah, when I first became a raw foodist, it was a different game than it is now. I mean, there's raw food restaurants in every city and probably every city in major city in North America. There's about 70 different raw food places now around the world, and that's pretty incredible. When I started out this work, there was 2.
Yeah. Yeah, were they both in L.A.?
Yeah, no. One was in New York, and the other was in
Really?
Chicago, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, things change around.
Okay, wow.
I've got a question because just to clarify things, maybe you can just tell us exactly what raw food means because I've got a picture in my head and I'm not sure it's the right picture. So maybe you can introduce us to the concept.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's a really good question. Probably everybody's wondering, what in the, raw what? I'm a vegetarian, so let's just start out right there. So I eat raw fruits, raw vegetables, nuts, seeds, seaweed, wheatgrass, sprouts, herbs, and a class of kind of catch-all foods that we call superfoods. Those are things like goji berries and cacao and bee pollen and stuff that's really, really potent kind of food. And that's my diet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
So can you be a raw food expert or a raw food practitioner and not be a vegetarian?
You can, yeah, sure, of course. I know a lot of raw foodists who take in raw dairy products. I mean, I probably would if I wasn't allergic to them.
So that would
I'm
be
allergic
something
to
like
raw and cooked dairy products.
Like, milk, I guess, that isn't homogenized or
Yeah,
pasteurized.
right.
And eggs, raw eggs.
Sure, yeah, you could do that. Now, again, you have to be careful with contaminants. This is the thing about, my diet, I'll never have to worry about any of this stuff because I eat things that are really clean. But if you do have raw animal products in your diet, you got to be a little bit careful. You got to be much more careful.
Because they're a lot higher up the food chain. So
Right.
they're accumulating those.
And you're only, the definition of raw food, you can only heat it to a certain degree before.
The basic idea is just, you kind of get away without using a stove.
Yeah.
And, that's the idea. So the temperature generally is thrown around. Some people say it's 40 degrees Celsius. Some people say it's 45. Some people say it's 50. Some people will say, it's 118 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 132 Fahrenheit. It's somewhere around there. You kind of know. If you're eating cashews, if they're cooked, it's a different thing completely. So it's just common sense. It's not a real trip. It's 119 degrees. I'm not eating it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's so we have the raw food here. People practice raw food, but there's people who practice vegetarianism, which, and there's certainly some overlap there, but they're definitely different things.
Yeah,
yes,
different.
That's right.
And so what are the benefits of a raw food diet?
I think there's a number of things that benefit for myself being a raw foodist and what I've seen. I mean, one of the things is it's a profound reconnection to nature. And that's one of the things that actually most kids are looking for. It's why kids do drugs. It's why, the major reason anyway, they feel disconnected. They feel disconnected from themselves, from their mission, from Mother Nature. It's why kids in cities tend towards more erratic and juvenile delinquent behavior, is because they're disconnected from a natural environment. And what I like about raw food nutrition is it does reconnect you in a profound way with the natural environment. Yeah. And it also really connects you with traditions of shamanism and herbalism in a real way, not an esoteric way, and that's a really important part of this. When you eat raw food, it does change you, because you are what you eat is actually a much deeper truth than we've been led to believe. And so what it kind of brings you into more of a shamanic reality, where things more have symbolic meaning than real meaning, and that Mother Nature does come alive in the same way as, we always wanted to. When I was a kid and I was like, let's try this, these mushrooms or whatever, Mother Nature comes alive. But I always wanted that every day. I didn't want to have to take this to get that. So how do you do that? Well, you eat Mother Nature's food, and you start to understand, okay, now I understand how, wild bobcats can roam the mountains and survive. How does a deer survive? How does a moose survive? You just get connected to that. Right.
Well, that seems powerful. Really powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful. It's very spiritual. I see. The thing I love about raw food is it is spiritual. You get connected to a level of yourself. A level of real spirit, of life force energy that I had never been able to get any other way. And that's what's kept me going, because you can't do it on willpower. That's impossible. No one could become a raw foodist on willpower only. Yeah, there has to be deeper things going on. And one of the things is pleasure, actually. Raw food tastes incredibly pleasurable. And that's why people get almond butter, at the health food store, and they eat half of it before they even realize what happened. They're like, what's going on?
It's pleasurable as long as it's organic.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Organic and just, is what you need when you need it.
Yeah. And now, do you do a lot of sprouted products as well? Yeah,
I do a lot of sprouts in the winter because, I live a lot of time actually north of Toronto, about 4 hours. And so in the wintertime, we do a sprout kitchen. And It's great. So we have fresh food, and then we have our sauerkrauts and stuff that's been prepared, honey and nuts and seeds, and just great foods that are available in the summer that you store for the winter.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you have written a book about how raw food, not only, how beneficial it is, but it's beneficial for your health, it's beneficial for your youth as well as your beauty. Yeah,
all those things. Yeah. The type of nutrition we're talking about here has one thing in common, and that is raw food does not have any corrupted oils, damaged oils, trans fatty acids. And probably the most profound change that happens for somebody when they get onto a kind of a raw food program, which means eating 80 to 100% raw food, just somewhere in there, is they get off of the oil, the poor quality oils that's in the food. So there's a change that comes over the skin, the complexion, the texture of the skin, the texture of the hair and nails. Certain things like this that it's kind of an intangible, but when you see the difference, you're kind of like, whoa, okay, something is different, and it has to do with the oils. Another thing is getting the right amount of protein and the right kind of protein. Strangely enough, is when we eat a lot of animal products which are supposedly high in protein, because of factory farming and because people aren't eating organic, they're actually not getting enough protein because the food's been cooked, and it's too high in fat and too low in protein. And therefore what ends up happening is they end up with protein deficiencies. And raw food is actually raw plant food is a way of getting all your protein needs met for real, not in some contrived way, but for real. For example, goji berry. There's a simple raw food. Anybody can eat it. A kid can eat it. An elderly person can eat it with ease. It tastes like an herbal kind of a raisin.
Oh, okay.
That's a complete protein source. Okay. Right there. And you could say that about hemp seed, you could say that about spirulina, you could say that about blue-green algae, you could say that about pumpkin seed, we could just go on all night about it. You could say that about flax seed. It's a complete protein source. And you're getting it undamaged by heat. That's critical and very easy to do. Just stop at the health food store and say, hey, get me the smoothie with the bee pollen in it.